to pray and say in the morning. The blood of Jesus over your family. Plead the blood over your family. This is what to pray and say in the morning. Warfare time, when you're under the blood, them demons will shake and tremble. Satan is a hold that it is, so we mash up your plans with only one sprinkle. If you're feeling pain, the blood of Jesus break every chain and remove our sin. Declare this again and again. The blood of Jesus over your family. Plead the blood over your family. This is what to pray and say in the morning. The blood of Jesus over your family. Plead the blood over your family. This is what to pray and say in the morning. When the Vicks and the bush can't fix this, the blood of Jesus remove all sickness, all asthma and all arthritis. In the name of Jesus we bind it. Jesus is the answer. The blood of Jesus beat out the cancer. Break every chain and remove all stain. Declare this again and again. The blood of Jesus over your family. Plead the blood over your family. This is what to pray and say in the morning. The blood of Jesus over your family. Plead the blood over your family. This is what to pray and say in the morning. When we plead the blood, principalities get trampled. When we plead the blood, generation curse get dismantled. So cover your children and them, your unsafe family members and them. Christ died on the cross for all of them, so start praying for them. The blood of Jesus over your family. Plead the blood over your family. This is what to pray and say in the morning. The blood of Jesus over your family. Plead the blood over your family. This is what to pray and say in the morning. The blood of Jesus for your healing. Cover yourself from the floor to the ceiling. The blood of Jesus on your neighbor. Let the world know Christ is the Savior. I know you might find this funny. Plead the blood of Jesus over your money. Even before the payday, complete the blood so the money can't done. The blood of Jesus over your family. Plead the blood over your family. This is what to pray and say in the morning. The blood of Jesus over your family. Plead the blood over your family. This is what to pray and say in the morning.
Good afternoon to all you wonderful people out there in Radio Land. I am Lynnel and Adona is joining me, and this is Team Family on 103.1 FM. We are happy to be back. It's a wonderful, another beautiful Sunday evening, and we are here to have our usual discussions, on the family, on relationships, that kind of thing. We are happy to be back. Adona?
Hi, everybody. A pleasant good evening to everybody. It's so great, to be back here today. And after we would have had a really good week, we have had a medal in the Olympics. We've seen God's hand on our team out there in Japan, even in the midst of this time. And I'm so grateful for that. And I personally thought it was a really good, event, a good exercise.
Oh, yes.
And that, we would have seen Kirani winning another medal. And I just want to congratulate all of them for, just braving this side of this whole COVID period and going out there and, doing their best for their country. I think that is really wonderful. And I know some of us would miss watching the Olympics because I think it's finished. Yeah, so, God is good.
God has been
good. Yeah, we just want to, bless. Ask God blessing upon them, continue blessing on them.
Wonderful.
Yes, yeah.
Wonderful. Well, people, today we have a new topic that we're discussing. We're still looking at families because, this program is about teams and the family. So we're still discussing families, but today we want to look at spending time together. All right? Not just with the couples, we're looking at spending time together as a family. So we look at, husband and wife. We look at, the children, the whole family spending time together. All right. Now, I told my husband about the topic I had for today, and I said the first question I want to ask is, you know, why do we need to spend time together, whether it be a couple, whether it be a family? And he told me that ain't a good question. He said to me, why are you asking people that? That's obvious. What I mean, why we need to spend time together? But I said to him, you know what? It's a rhetorical question because, sometimes we hear a question like that and duh, it's obvious, we need to spend time together. People need to spend time together. But really and truly, why is it important for couples, for families, for children and parents and families altogether? Why is it important for us to spend time together? Yes, we know we need to spend time together, but why? Why is it really important for us to spend time together? Huh? I have a first point here that I want to bring up. Yes, and this might be an obvious point, but we need to dig into this a little bit more. We need to spend time together so that we can learn more about each other. What do you think about this, Sister Thompson?
Yeah, we do need to learn about each other.
Oh, yes.
Especially now where we have all our devices and it take over our time.
Oh, yes.
We tend to give our children devices. We have them sit in front of a television. They watch their show. They spend a lot of time, on the tablet, on the computers, and and they don't really get a time with you to know you and to appreciate you as a parent, or even as your spouse. You go to work, you come back home, you get on your phone, your tablet, your computer. You don't really take the time to spend that quality time and to get to really know one another and to appreciate one another more.
That is right.
Yeah.
Sometimes, your child growing up, your little son or your little daughter, they growing up, and there may be things about them that you don't really know. Like your son maybe really like, I don't know, maybe he might like cooking, or it's possible that he loves basketball, or it might be possible that he loves music. He wants to, play the drums, but because you don't spend that quality time with your son or with your daughter or with your husband or your wife, you don't discover these things. You never find out, these little things about them that you ordinarily would not know unless you spend time together. So spending time together is important so that we can learn more about each other. You cannot know every single thing about somebody unless you are spending quality time with them. You're going to discover some things about your spouse. You're going to discover that, maybe they're really good at table tennis. You might go out one day and you decide, okay, let's for fun, let's play table tennis. And I don't know, maybe your wife might beat you in the table tennis that you thought you were good at, or maybe your son or your daughter might end up beating you how many times, and I didn't realize that you're real good at this thing.
Yeah.
We need to spend time together.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes even in spending time together, you get to sow certain values in your spouse, or you get to know what their value system is like, and all those things. Even you spend time together to really share one another.
That's
what
true.
you made out of, what really are your likes, your dislikes, what your value system is.
That's true.
What is important to you.
That is true. Sometimes, as you say that, we discussed in the weeks before, we talked about, before you get married and having that conversation about, your things that you may like or not like. Sometimes you don't get to discuss everything,
True.
You don't get to say everything that you like or everything that you don't like, but it's in spending time together that people discover, oh, I really didn't realize that, I didn't realize that you don't like people pinching you. One day you're probably just, you're there, you're spending time together, you're on the beach, whatever, and you might make a little joke with your spouse and give them a little pinch, and you might get the shock of your life. You might get a shock of your life. That, I remember I have a friend, that sometimes your wife or your husband might like, if you say, oh, honey, you look at them and you say, oh, you look sexy. That using that word to your husband or your wife, it might be, you might think they might like it. But I know somebody personally. Don't ever tell me that,
I don't like it
husband,
either,
what, you know,
I don't like it
that,
either.
you see, to somebody else, that's the best thing you could
But
tell
ever
them.
tell them,
So when you spend time together with your husband, with your wife, with your son or your daughter, you discover things. Their likes and their dislikes.
yeah,
Don't ever pinch me. That
it
could be
could,
the worst thing you could do to somebody you don't know.
yeah,
There are things that people might love and there are things that people might really hate, and you never discover it until you spend that quality time with them.
we were forced to spend time together during the lockdown, and
Yes.
it might have a lot of disruption in families because people they're so busy, ordinarily going to work, doing things. Now they get to spend time together. Sometimes they really began to see one another and to know what's happening in one another's life.
That's right. That's right.
Things that was not, in open. And you find a lot of disputes in families over
Yes.
this COVID time. And, but I discovered that, when you actually get to spend time together and, to share that time with your spouse that you long for, I mean, is something that is worth being grateful for, because
Yes.
when you do spend that time together, you're bonding, you're getting to know one another even more intimately,
Wonderful.
and it's really a great thing. You learn to make dishes together, do things together that you never really had the time to do before.
So true.
Yeah.
So true. Because when you're working, sometimes you're so busy with life and from home to church to work to back home to children, this, that, the other. You don't get that time to really spend quality time together to sometimes, something might be bothering your spouse, something might be bothering your child, but you never really, it doesn't stand out to you until you get to spend that quality time with them and you realize, this thing has been bothering them. You might have a little discussion with them, in your spending time together, where it be, you're playing a sport, you're playing a little video game, you're on the beach,
Yeah.
whatever time you spend with them, you realize, you have a little discussion, you might, talk about things, and they get a little bit more comfortable with you, because in spending time together, another important thing is bonding. You create a greater bond with your child, your son, your daughter, your husband, your wife. You create that bond. People feel a little bit more open with you, especially your children. Otherwise that they might not, children. I can't say children nowadays. I think
Yeah,
it's just
children is
a
children all the
yeah, it's
time.
just a general thing. That if you have not bonded with your mother, your father on that level, there are certain things you just will not share with them. And it's important,
Yeah.
in these times that we bond with our children.
You may share space. You sleep together.
Yes.
And you say, well, we know one another because we share space and we sleep together. But actually, do you actually really know? Or do you the time you spend together, is it meaningful time?
Yes. Yes.
Meaningful time where you actually would get to appreciate something about
It's true.
the person that you share that bed with,
It's true.
or you share that house with, you
Yes.
know.
We need to understand each other a little bit more.
Hmm.
Sometimes, you might have certain ways or certain, there might be something about your character that, or your spouse's character that you might not quite understand why it is that they like to do this or why it is that they don't like to do that, and in spending more time with them, and in, you start to understand a little bit more. Okay, maybe they tried to explain it to you, and they didn't quite explain, and you didn't quite understand, why it is that why it is that I like my bread like that, or why it is that I don't like to do this. They might explain it to you, but in spending time with them, things become a little bit more clear. All right. There are certain things words may not be able to quite understand, but when you're around people and you observe, then things become a little bit more clear. You know, and in a while ago we were talking about bonding with your children. And what came to mind, is a lot of the sexual crimes that are happening in our society these days. Now, if a mother or father is able to bond with their child on a certain level, if something is happening outside of the ordinary, like somebody may have touched them in a wrong way, or something happened in school, or some kind of, the beginning of the sexual abuse, we can, if the bond is there, then I think, that child will feel comfortable enough to come to mommy or daddy and say, look at what happened, because they feel comfortable with you on that level. They have
Right.
bonded
They have that
with you.
freedom now
That's right.
because they know that they
That's
can
right.
trust you as a parent.
That's right.
They have that freedom. Yeah.
Something is bothering them, you know, um, maybe something to do with choice of subjects, maybe to do with a girlfriend that they have, as teenagers, you never know.
Yeah.
Lord, I wonder
Or
when my
something that
time
might
comes,
have
how I'm going to deal
happened.
with that.
Something that might have happened in their lives and they never talk about it. In
Yes.
spending time together, it actually would open up and tell you,
Oh,
well, this is
yes.
what happened that time. And you say, what? And you're just telling me?
Yes.
you know?
Because, when you bond on that level, then they feel, that there's that level of trust that I can trust you with this information, that they don't feel, okay, mommy's up there and daddy's up there, and I don't have, I cannot tell mommy or daddy this because,
Yeah, and then sometimes they tend to confide in people outside there, in friends, and they who may not be able to help them,
oh
and
Lord.
yeah, so
And
it's better
some
that they be able to confide in you as a parent.
That is right.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the information that children might get out there might be to their detriment,
True.
might be to their downfall, and they don't know it, because they trust their friend, they trust that person out there. But you, as the parent, you should be their confidant. You should be the one that your child can come to and say, Mommy or Daddy, I'm having this problem. I'm going through this situation and I need some help. You, as the mother or the father, you should be able to pray for your child. You should be able to, give them that kind of advice
And
that they
assurance, yeah.
need, and without judging them too, because
Yeah,
sometimes they may
yeah.
have made a mistake, and
We
we
have to
have to
know how to
know.
approach it. We
That's
have to know
right.
how. But the fact that they come to you and telling you the truth is, that you give that listening ear, you lend them your ear,
Yes. Yes.
and yeah, pay
Yeah.
attention to the situation.
Yes.
Whatever it is, you have
That's
to handle it
right.
well with wisdom.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right. I'm not saying that we should not correct our
Mm-hmm.
children. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
correction,
Yeah, if you have to correct them, but you
you
correct
have
them
to.
with love.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. That is so true. I
Mm-hmm.
often look at, my relationship with my sons, and I kind of compare it with God's relationship with me. And I say, sometimes I say, oh God, Lord, that is how it does feel sometimes, when I do this or when I do that. It's like, why you do that, child? And I tell you, don't do that, and you do it again. That kind of way. But we have to approach our children with the same love, that God will, when we come to God and we say, God, we feel broken. This is what I've done. This is what I've said. I am broken before you, and God is a forgiving God.
Mm-hmm.
We ought to approach our children with the same kind of love. God
Yeah.
corrects us.
Yeah.
He loves us and he corrects us. So we do the same for our children, but we do it with love. You
Yeah.
know,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So we're talking about spending time together. Shout out to Saint Lucia and Trinidad. I see you're locked in, and also to Grenada. I know that we have many listeners, out there, right here in our own country. Um, this is Team Family. We're having a discussion today on spending time together as a family. All right, not just as husband and wife, but spending time together with your children. All right. So if you have any questions out there that you would like us to, discuss as we continue with this topic, you can always text us on 403-1031. We want to hear from you, whatever questions or comments you may have on this topic of spending time together. All right.
Yeah.
So, Sister T, we also talking about the importance of spending time together. All right, we spoke about, it is to learn more about each other. All right, because we can, there are things about your son and your daughter, your husband, your wife, that you need to know. Some of these things you may not know. Some of these things might be hidden because of their past. They may be hurts, they may be things, family secrets, things that you might not learn until you reach that level. You really bond, and you spend a lot of time together. So we said you need to spend time together so that you can learn more about each other. We also said, to bond. Bonding is something important.
Yeah.
You
And
know.
you have to take the level of your communication even a little higher.
All
You don't want to
right.
just be on a surface. You go a little bit
That's
deeper,
right.
a little more
That's right.
intimate. There are things that maybe bothering you, spiritually. There might be things that, on the job that you may have discuss with anybody else, but you might feel freer discussing
True.
it with your spouse,
That's true. That's true.
and
And in
yeah.
spending time
Mm-hmm.
together, you get to observe a little bit more,
Mm-hmm.
because there might be something bothering your husband or your wife,
Mm-hmm.
and you might not know because you're so busy up and down, to and from work, to and from church. And in spending time together, you might have certain discussions, or you might just observe something about your spouse that might just be,
Different. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
something different, that
Mm-hmm.
you can have a conversation and say, is everything okay? And from there you can actually discover that there might be something in your husband or your wife's life that, that might be hurting them, that might be something that you can, be there for them for,
Mm-hmm.
and it
Mm-hmm.
will only come by spending time
Yeah,
together, you
it would
know,
surely improve your communication
you know.
level. Yeah.
All right. We have a comment here that, you know, that too many people have regretted that they did not spend time with their children when they grew up, you know. So, at times, as parents, sometimes you have little children and they're running all about the house, they're making noise, they're disrupting your house, they spoil your couch. And, things happen at home, and you say, Lord, I can't wait till all they get big and get out of my house. But, in really pondering on those words that you might say as parents, you realize, you know what? When they get big and they're gone, we'll really miss them. When they get big and they're married and they're gone, it's nice in your house now, but you think back at these
It was
times
some.
and you say, it was really wonderful times.
Yeah, and you
You
said that,
know?
and I think back on our house was always a full house growing up,
Yes.
and you see this time August holiday, we play a lot of games. We do a lot of bonding time, a lot of things
Okay.
together. Mom would get us because she used to sew school uniform, so she get us to hem. She get us to do buttonholes. So even in spend, you get to teach your children, things that they can help themselves later on in life.
That's right.
And it's always a joy to be able to spend these times, and children appreciate when you spend time with them.
Oh,
They
yes.
appreciate it. So even though you might be helping do a hemming, but you're talking while you're doing it. You're teaching the little things
That's
while
bonding time.
you're
That's
doing it.
bonding time.
And my father would take us to the garden. you know he would have corn, and we weed the corn, and and in that you get to appreciate your father. He teach you stuff, because in the home is where you learn a lot of, you get all your basic knowledge of how to, life skills. A lot of time, we can't just always depend on the school and the teachers to do all the training for it. You have to train up your child in the
That's
way
true.
in which they should go. So when they're old, they would not depart from it. And even the spending time with family from the foundation, as you as a child, spending time is a very it was a normal and natural thing where you spend time together at home. Mom would rent movies when we come, when you had VCR at the time.
Okay.
We watch movies together. And we discuss the movie, and we argue over the movie.
Wonderful. Still good times. Still
so,
good times.
so all those things, they bring good memories. So when you have your family, you want to do these things, you want to spend this time, and you want to pass on that value, going on beach together, going swimming race, playing tug of war. Because we had a big family, so
Okay.
we could
Okay.
have two teams
Okay.
playing tug of war and all those things. And, that was a lot of fun, and it's a lot of good memories, and something you can pass on to your children now that I have my daughter, and it's only one I have, so I still have to meet with her cousins to go and spend these time together, with the
Yes.
extended family. Yeah.
Beautiful times.
Yeah.
We have another comment here from a listener, and the listener is saying that I think parents and even as spouses, we need to keep family issues confidential. That's important. Lack of this breaks trust. So you don't want, your son or your daughter speaks to you about something confidential, and you're going and talk to a friend
Yeah, that
about
does
it.
throw them off.
Yes. And then the friend come, I hear your mother, your father say, that
You don't want that out there. That spoil the whole thing, because they will
no,
tell you anything again.
that's
They
right.
wouldn't tell you anything
That's
again.
right. So we have to be careful as parents. Not
You
even
keep
your
it
best friend.
confidential. Hmm Yeah,
It's
a lot of confidentiality from my father.
oh
He's
yes.
one that kept things.
Okay.
You cannot talk to him, and he would
Yes.
to let it out.
That
Hmm
really throws off your children.
Yeah,
You tell your mother, your father something, and then you hear, some family member telling you about it, or
because they go and discuss it, and they say,
no.
"Oh, it's just between me and you."
Uh-uh. Mm-mm. That's a turn off. That's a total turn
Because
off.
you say just between me and you, hoping that the person will keep.
Hmm
But you have to learn to keep things.
That's right. That's
You have to
right.
learn to keep things.
That's right.
Hmm
You want your son and your daughter to be able to come back to you at another time. It might the
Because
issue
they
they
don't trust.
you know the,
Trust. Yeah.
the issue they may have shared with you
hmm
might not have been a very bad one, or a deep one, and sometime in the future they may have another issue that is really pressing and might be life threatening. You don't know what it could
hmm
be, and because of what you did in the past, they decide, no, I can't trust my mother with that. I
hmm
can't trust my father with that, because I spoke to them in the past about this issue, and I hear it from auntie this or uncle that.
hmm
So we have to learn as parents, to keep things confidential, not just, well, we're talking about family. So your wife or your husband, you know, talk to you about something, and you go and you tell your best friend, I ain't fine. That's sounding like mash up marriage.
Yeah.
That sound like something
If
to
you have
mash up.
something going on between
No, no, no.
both of you,
You know,
keep it between both of you. Unless
that's
it's something
right.
that you have to work on, and you need intervention from outside, like a counselor, your pastor,
Well,
or that in that case
that's different.
different. But
Yes.
yeah, but
But why would they? Let's look at this scenario. Possibly, let's say that maybe your wife can't, conceive for some reason,
Mhm,
and it's a confidential issue in your family between you and
mhm,
your wife,
mhm.
but you decide to go and tell a friend out there, and possibly that friend might be a female friend. How you think? I find that,
That is a touchy
that that
issue,
is
and
going to
that
create
mhm,
a lot of damage to
mhm,
marriage. We have to be careful. If your husband or your wife is supposed to be like your best friend, you care about them, you want the best for them. They have a situation dealing with, they have a problem that's probably affecting your marriage, or possibly affecting you. you know I can see counseling. All right, but that counseling had to be on a certain level. But you don't go out there and share with your best friend, or or somebody that To me, that is really touchy. I don't even know how to talk about that, but to me, that is a
some things
touchy
you just have to
issue.
hold it and keep it
Bring it
between
before
you and
God.
both of you and God. That is it.
Yes,
That is just it. Be you
yes,
and them and God, and they have
yes,
to know that they can have that confidence in you.
that's right.
Yeah. And as I just think back on the virtuous woman, the Bible said that her husband, he is confident. His
Trust.
trust her. He
Yes,
trusts her.
that's right.
And the same thing, you want to be able to trust your husband
That's right.
as well, with
That's
your
right.
personal business, as we say in Grenada language.
That's right. The listener out there again is saying that outside help should be discussed and agreed upon first.
Hmm
So you don't want to,
Rush to and say, well, I know men are very hesitant when it
Yeah.
comes to going and get
You know,
help.
oh
So it's
Lord.
something that you have to
That's
agree
right.
upon. Yeah.
Agree on it first, because that is recipe for marriage, more married problems. You know, you might think, okay, well, is both of us good friend, but to your husband or to your wife, that's not an issue for you to take out there. I don't want anybody knowing about this. I don't want that person, and you might not know that they don't want that person in particular knowing about that, issue, but you just go and just, we have
And
to
I
be
believe
careful.
as a woman, your husband would appreciate you more when you're able to keep his very touchy private information
Private and
non
confidential,
confidential.
you know
Yeah.
we have to be
And
careful,
just same way for a woman,
you know
because it give you it kind of affect your self-esteem, it affect your how you might start to think how people would think about you, knowing that this information might be out there.
that's right,
you know
that's right.
it affects you in
Yes,
mentally.
that's true,
Hmm.
that's true. There's another comment here that's it says that we should not wait for something terrible to happen to try to make up for the last time. It cannot be reclaimed, so don't wait. You know,
Hmm.
don't wait until something terrible happens to try to make up for the last time. In your relationship,
Hmm.
we try and make the best of now. Don't create problems. So that your child or your husband, thinking twice and sharing something with you.
You want to have a safety net. You want to make sure that the home is a safe place
That's
for
right.
your children,
That's
because and
right.
that one of the most important thing is that the personal things is personal.
That's
What
right.
discussed here stays here.
That's right.
You don't want it going out there unless it's agreed, and if they want to share it to help somebody else,
That's right.
that's a different level. But you don't want to.
And we often say that, we often say, okay, what we say here is staying here, but we just say it
Mhm.
and we don't follow through with it. So if your teen, or if your young child is sharing something with you, don't just tell them, it's confidential. Keep and stay to your word. Your word is your word. All right. Let your nay be nay and your yea be yea. So if you say yes, your words are safe with me, it's confidential,
Yeah.
stick to that.
And an important thing too is when they're sharing this other information with you as a parent, don't be too busy, don't be too distracted. Give them your undivided attention and listen well to what they're saying. They don't like when they're talking to you, you're doing something else, your mind somewhere else. You have to, train yourself to listen to them, and listen to them well, so that in turn you can help them. If you're not listening well, you might just go off on a tangent. If you have to hear what they say and hear them out really well before you even think about opening your mouth.
All right. Oh gosh. We have a few questions here by one of the listeners. I'm not too sure if we could answer all of them today, but we can try. The first question is, does the Bible say that spouses must be best friends? That's an interesting question.
Well, does the Bible say that? Well, it doesn't say that outright, but I mean, as husband and wife, you're one. You do everything, you're living, sleeping, everything together. You might as well be best friends. And
I like your answer. I like your answer. All right. If you won, all right, you won. You basically, we're one. All right. So I ought to love myself as I ought to love you as I love myself, you know. And if I love myself, then, I'm my best friend. I take care of who I love.
yeah.
So I don't think that the Bible says outright, be your husband's best friend or your wife's best friend, but I think it's implied,
Hmm.
in the sense that you are one.
Hmm.
You're one flesh. All right.
And sometimes, I can see where this question coming from, because sometimes you figure that certain things, because of how your spouse might be made up, you might not want to talk to them about that, because you figure you might get a kind of turn off answer, or you might get a cold shoulder, or you might get,
Okay.
but it's important that we be able to communicate well.
That's right.
Know,
That's right.
and so that as a spouse, you want to have that freedom to approach your husband or your wife freely on any issue.
That's true. That's true.
So if, like, with children, they wouldn't ask you about certain things because they think you're going to say no, or you think they're going to bash them, or you're going to tell them something. So they mightn't tell you at all. But you want to have that freedom with your husband, with your children, where they can come to you on any issue and talk to you about anything and feel free.
That's right.
And everything. I remember Sister Esther was talking about the liberation.
Oh yes, oh yes.
And in the terms of, where you have that freedom.
That's right.
With each other.
That's right. And you as you mentioned, Sister Esther, I remember, on the same discussion, she spoke about marriage being the highest kind of relationship that you could have, because really and truly, when you come together, it's a friendship. All right. And you go from level to level. When you get married, it's the highest form of a relationship you could have, because you're one.
Yeah. Yeah. And she talked about Christ and the church.
Right.
And that's how it is described in the Bible as love your wife as Christ loved the church.
Yes. Yes.
And that's a very high, level to take it.
That's right.
That's right. So, we should watch our attitudes, when it comes to communicating and to being around each other. Sometimes we tend to build up walls and set up guards, and we need to let those things crumble.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So the second question here from the same viewer is, what do you do when a spouse did not grow up in a household where quality family time was prioritized? So they're just okay with being present in the house, but not really involved with the family regularly. Interesting.
Very interesting. I wonder why, a child will grow up not having that. I wonder if it's a matter of choice, or if it's a matter of sometimes convenience, or just how they are.
Some families, are not, we have different types of families.
And different personalities. That's as well.
Right.
Yeah.
We have also broken families. I'm not saying that somebody might, because their family doesn't spend a lot of quality time together, it means it's a broken family. It could be for a number of reasons. Maybe mommy or daddy, they're working constantly, to make ends meet. It could be for a lot of reasons. It could be that possibly you have a very big family, and I don't know, for whatever reason, you may not spend a lot of time together. But I think it's important as husband and wife that you discuss things. So if that is important to you, as the wife or as the husband, that you prioritize to spend time together as a family, as husband and wife, you need to communicate that with your spouse. You need to let them know, that this is important to you. And remember when we spoke about, compatibility. We also spoke about consideration, so this is what is important to your husband or your wife. You be considerate concerning that. So this is really big for them. This is important to them, that the family spends a lot of quality time together. We need to address that issue. All right. Even if, to you, that's trivial, spending time together. But this is important to your wife or to your husband. It is something to give consideration to, And as a matter of fact, this is what we're talking about today, spending time together. How are you going to bond except you spend quality time together? How are you going to learn more about each other except you spend quality time together? How are you going to learn more about each other's likes and dislikes, the things that you possibly cannot say, but you discover it along the way? You need to spend quality time together. Some things are just not discovered. some things are just not understood until you spend that quality time together.
Yeah, but
It's
it's
important.
important.
It's
Yeah.
very important.
And even in big families, you find that there are children who are quite more quiet and more reserved than others. There are
That's
some
true.
who are more outgoing you know, and some are more quiet. They might sit in a corner and read a book,
True.
while the others go up and down, running and playing, and that's just their personality. But doesn't mean that they don't have a social life
That's true.
and they can't really, express themselves. It's just that that's their nature, that's their personality, and sometimes we need to understand each other and understand where people are coming from. Your spouse may come out from a home that is not too much of a exuberant and expressive family.
True.
They might be a quieter and more subdued, but sometimes some things and you can rub off on your spouse.
Yes. And God
And
knows why He brought
put it
you both
together. And
together.
sometimes you just need a little spruce up.
That's right.
you know,
God knows why He
yeah,
bring two persons together.
yeah,
You
and
know?
it might make up for some part of his life that must have been missing.
That's true. That's
Mhm,
true. That's true. We need to pay attention to these things,
mhm.
So if you are not spending time together as husband and wife, if you're not spending time together as a family, I really do think that you are missing out. You're missing out on the little details, the things that are going to help you, you know, um, you know, be able to function more as a family unit, to be able to be more of a team unit, more of a team,
Mhm.
understanding each other more, and to be able to really reach that height
Yeah.
that God intends for your family to reach, that, to be able to, to discover that purpose, and to be able to, fulfill the purpose that God wants you to fulfill, because it's, it might just be that God is preparing your son or your daughter or you as a couple for something in the future that will
Mhm.
require, that whatever you're building there, spending that time together, you
Yeah.
know,
You
it
know.
could be that he's preparing you possibly to be counselors,
Mhm.
you know. It could be that he's preparing you for some kind of, sports ministry. It
Mhm.
might be that you become evangelist and you use, maybe basketball. You might both be basketball players. You spend time together. That's how you spend time
Yeah.
together. But it might be in the
And we
future,
see
you know.
the tennis players, the two girls, Venus and is their father that taught him, and
Right.
even Tiger Woods, his father taught him to play golf.
Okay.
You see, and you see the level they reach because they had that kind of bonded with their fathers. You
That's
know,
right.
is really good to spend these
You
quality
know.
times together, and you know to be able to express it, and we must as a family be able to express ourselves freely to each other and respectfully too.
That's true.
Hmm.
That's true.
Hmm.
You know, sometimes we look at ministry as just, coming into the church and, okay, you're a pastor, um, maybe you're, a worship leader, maybe you're a musician. We tend to look at ministry sometimes in a narrow minded kind of way, but there is so much more to ministry. And as I was saying, sports evangelism is something that, can really reach out to people out there.
Yep.
If you and your husband, as I was saying, are basketball players or maybe, I don't know, cricket players, or you might be really good at swimming or tennis or
Yeah,
whatever
I just doing at the exercise walking,
that's right.
encouraging some people to walk, and as
That's
you
right.
could get people
You
more
know,
involved in physical activities,
that's
and
right.
exercise is very important for growing children and also for us adults. As we, exercise is important because it helps to prevent a lot of chronic diseases,
Oh,
and
yes.
so is we encourage physical activity too. Is a very good way of bonding and spending time together. And as Lena was saying, you can grow a ministry out of it. And you reach people for Christ
Oh,
through it
yes.
as
Oh,
well,
yes. Oh,
Yeah.
yes. So it doesn't stop there. So the time that you spend together bonding with your children or bonding with your husband or your wife might just be something that God uses, you know, for ministry. So don't look at it lightly. Don't look at those little discussions you have with your children lightly. It might just be that they might be a little boy or a little girl, in your future that might have a similar problem as your son or your daughter. Or we can even go further than that. Your son or your daughter might be able to learn from a certain situation, and they in turn might be somebody that can help another, a friend going through a similar situation because of maybe the advice that you gave to them, that quality time that you spent with your son or your daughter, and you gave them the little advice. They might be able to share, with their friend that's having a similar problem. We ought not to look at, spending time together as family lightly. What you pour into your spouse, what you pour into your son or your daughter, in turn, they can pour into somebody else's life. It might just be God's training ground, as I said, for counseling, for some other type of ministry that you might not be able to see now, but it happens in the future. All right. So don't look at that bonding time lightly.
And even as you mentioned ministry, don't leave your children out when you're doing ministry. As sometimes you may be involved, in leadership in your church, and you tend to lead the children home, and or you go to different meetings and you leave your children home. But I believe it's good to bring them with you.
Okay.
Bring them with you to prayer meeting. Bring them with you to Bible studies.
All right.
That's how my mom bring me to cottage meeting. Cottage meeting was a mean of having prayer meeting in somebody's home. Yes. And then you have fellowship and fellowship. I used to love to go to that because they have eat a lot of food, and so afterwards, and,
all right.
and, you have a lot of time. You can chat with the older people, the older women, and it's a good way of just having fellowship and bonding, not just with your parent, but with the body of Christ.
That's
and people
right.
Within the church.
Yes, your children should become.
And you shouldn't just have them withdrawn and get their part and thing. My mom, used to send me and go in the hospital and pray for neighbors when in hospital. Don't hold back to get your children involved in ministry.
All right, so that they get comfortable.
The blood of Jesus will,
right.
Yeah, let them get a taste of it, and see that they can impact and have make a difference in somebody's life, even as a child.
Oh yes. So that they what we say, they go straight into ministry from a young age, so that they understand it from that level, so that they grow up in ministry and being active.
Yeah,
it's a good thing to get your children
normal
right.
and natural, because it's something that they see you do and they involve in from small.
All right.
So they, and it's not a burden to them. They enjoy it.
Okay.
So get them involved.
All right.
Yeah, and a comment.
Yes, there's another comment here. All right. In spending time as a family, family time should focus on members' interests or likes. All right. For example, if the children like hiking, the family hikes. If mommy likes ice cream, there should be an ice cream day. I like that.
Only once a month, though. You don't want to have an ice cream day every week.
If dad likes football, everybody goes to a game sometimes. I like that.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So find out, what mommy likes, what daddy likes, what the children like. What the children like. We
sometimes
should have
they like
a
the
day
beach.
For that. Yes.
Yeah, they go to the beach.
That's a great
and
idea.
Have, all the fun at the
beach.
That's
a great idea.
That's a good idea.
That's a wonderful idea.
And I think now, as we have so much devices and our children are exposed and always on some phone or tablet, we should seek to be deliberate about taking them out and do some physical activity together. Some outdoor activity together, that they wouldn't have to be so glued to their phone or to their tablet or to their device. Like the person said, have a day where you would just go hike.
Yes.
Learn the island. Yes. Foreigners come and they learn and they know so much places that we don't know.
That's right.
You take them somewhere. Have a picnic, do something fun together as a family.
Oh yes. That's
and
important.
No phone.
Oh yes, that's important.
No Wi-Fi.
Okay, we could do that. We could do that. We could do that.
Because in our time we didn't have all these things, and we were able to bond and keep a close relationship all into adulthood as
Yes.
siblings and parents and
The
everything.
phone really does take
Yeah,
away.
the devices
It really does take
take
away.
away
You need to
because
have a,
you're going out and
you know,
you're having dinner and everybody on the phone.
yeah, instead of discuss,
Nobody
yeah,
talking. You know, put the phone away and
yes,
you have live real people with you.
yes,
What you
yes.
have here is words just reading or sometimes some pictures, but you have live real people who you could touch and feel. You know.
Oh Lord.
Yeah.
All right. So Reverend Dale Francis is saying it's a great conversation and he's locked in from Tobago. Hi, Reverend Dale. Good to have you listening this
Good
evening.
evening.
And he's saying that there is no ministry without the family. No ministry without the family. I agree. All right. That's where the ministry starts, in the
Yes.
family.
Yes.
That's where it starts. It's important that we remember and understand that, because family is the first unit, right?
Yeah. And what I would like to add is that there's no one man show in the family. There's no lone ranger.
Oh, yes.
It's a team, and
That's
everybody is
right.
important in the family. Everybody
That's
plays their
right.
part.
That's right.
Whatever you do, everybody have a part to play.
That's right.
And we should try to encourage that sort of attitude and spirit within the family.
That's right.
Hmm.
That's right. And that is why our program is called Team Family, because we want people to remember that the family is a team. All right. It's not all about mommy. It's not all about daddy or the children. We are a team. We are working together with a common purpose in mind. Remember we spoke when we were talking about, just starting off your family as husband and wife. And we said, it's important to put together a vision, a vision and a mission statement for your family. This is where we're going. We have all things in common. This is what, you can write down a set of goals. If you have, short-term goals, long-term goals, this is what we want to achieve as a family. It's important. We are a unit and we're working together for a common goal and a common purpose. All right. It's not, all about mommy. It's not all about daddy. It's a team. We're a unit. All right. Let's not forget that.
You know, I think back on how children are so much now. Children growing up now don't have that, liberty as we have to have physical activities because of the situation now with the with COVID. You don't find we don't have sports. We don't have as much as before. But I want to encourage parents to get their children involved in some kind of physical activity, because with exercise and physical activity, they grow healthier.
Oh yes. Oh
You know,
yes. That's
just
important.
a little snip of the health. It's good for their brain, their heart, physical activities. Their bones are stronger, their muscles are stronger. They have less obesity because with all the sitting down, and they tend to eat a lot and snack a lot and put on weight. And we have to care about each other's health as well
That's
within the
right.
family.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
We should not neglect the physical man. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
we catering for everything: spiritual, physical, emotional, psychological, the whole man.
Yeah.
The spirit man. We want to cater for everything. So, in thinking and in putting together goals as a family, in looking at your purpose as your vision, your mission, don't forget the physical man. The physical man is important too.
Yeah,
You
very
have to
true.
take care of your body.
Yeah.
Make
Yeah.
sure you're if you have to go for regular checkups, the dental checks. You have a
Yes.
dentist here.
Taking your
Make
children to the
sure.
dentist twice a
Yes,
year. Don't
yes.
wait until they have a problem to take them.
That's
Make it
right.
a duty. Have a time where you go to the dentist as a
That's right.
family.
That's right.
You know.
Make sure that
Eh,
everybody is in proper health. If you know that possibly, there's somebody in your family that maybe suffers from high blood pressure or, certain things, you make sure that you have regular checks. You don't want, to neglect those things and
Yeah.
then
And
you're
watch your
sorry
diets,
later.
watch your salts,
Oh,
watch your
yes. Oh,
because
yes.
it's affecting not just everybody consuming the food. You have to make sure you have a balance.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
Mhm.
All right. Another comment here says the essence of teamwork is the expression of unity. I agree. All
Mhm.
right. It takes a corporate or united flow for things to work appropriately, because the very word unity which is agreement, speaks of harmony.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And before we close, I just remember, I think Sister Pastor Bishop Esther had really deposited a lot to us last week, and she talked about ultimate, responsibility as powers, as families, to ensure that each other reach their purpose.
that's right.
And
That's right.
we have to watch for that. Encourage people
right.
and set them in a way that they can reach their purpose and
That's
fulfill their
right.
purpose in God.
Yes.
As Christian family, and even family that are not saved as yet, but they have they're God fearing.
Yes.
Ensure that your children and your spouse and the entire family seek to fulfill their purpose, and to ensure that is they have this fulfillment in life.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
And that will come as we spend time together.
Mm-hmm.
You discover and you see, okay, this my child has a liking for this or a liking for that, or you realize, okay, this is a gift. Oh my gosh, she can play the piano so well.
Mm-hmm.
You can help to bring them onto that purpose that you discern is the purpose of God for their life. Help them to discover God's purpose for their life. As parents, we ought to look over them, watch over them, pray for them, that they will walk in the purpose of God, that they will discover exactly what their purpose is in Christ and in God, that they would walk in it. It's very important that we work together. All right. And we cannot we cannot say it enough. All right, that spending time together is important as a family. Spend time together. Don't neglect to spend that quality time together. Do not neglect to spend quality time with your spouse. Outside of the family time, husband and wife need to spend their own time together too. So it's not just about mommy and daddy and the boys or the children, the girls and everybody. So yes, we need to spend time together as a whole unit. But mommy and daddy also need their time together. All right. So let's not neglect that time together. All right. One last comment there. It says we must also destroying the enemies of team. All right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Because when you stick together, what foe can come against you?
That's right. That's
no
right.
foe can break you, because you're together and you enjoy one another.
That's right. Mm-hmm. So we have to remember that when we operate as a unit, when we operate in unity, all right, we are greater together than we are apart. All right. So let's understand each other. Let's learn to work together as a team. Let us spend time together. Do not neglect that. God knew what he was saying when he said, do not neglect the assembling of the saints to it.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. That time together is important.
Important.
For building up, for edification, for encouraging each other,
for sharing.
People need to spend time together. We ought not to be, isolated from each other. The body of Christ isolated. The members of a family isolated. We need to spend time together. It's important. It's important. I may not have got all the questions this afternoon, but we're running out of time. It has been a blessing. I'm not too sure if I missed any question, but if I did, I'm so sorry. I'm going to go back through the chat, and if we can, we're going to discuss it next Sunday, another time. But it has been a blessing having all of you listening out there and participating with us as we discuss family issues. And today in particular, we were talking about spending time together. It has been an honor, and you are listening to 103.1 FM. Continue to listen, continue to be blessed. We have wonderful programs coming up tomorrow. Don't forget, first thing in the morning, we have Refresh with Precious Lady Abby. Oh, I forgot. We not the first thing in the morning. We first have devotions
yes.
with Trevor T. All right. Don't forget devotions with Trevor T. First thing in the morning. And then we have Abby, Precious Lady Abby. We have Refresh. All right. And don't forget the other programs during the week.
Program in the
evening,
yes.
In the evening, we have the Money Talk. All right. With Brother Gatson Bernard and my husband, DJ Saby. All right. And through the week again, we have the Hope Drive. We have on Saturday, Pump Saturdays with Disciple D and DJ Steele. Oh gosh, I forget Friday nights, Youth Energy Friday. Don't forget that. Yeah. And on Saturday, on Saturday coming, actually, we have our motorcade. So maybe on Saturday coming, we won't have many of these programs, but you can always catch us the following Saturday. All right. So it has been a pleasure. Thank you all for listening. Again, God bless you. Any last words, Sister T, Sister Thompson?
Well, I just want to say thank you for listening this afternoon. And we really, hope and trust that the words of encouragement that we shared this evening would have impacted you. And always seek to work as a team with your family, whether it's two only, whether it's a full house, but stick together as a family. And remember, the family that prays together stays together.
Oh, yes. God bless you.
Hey, you can't touch me. Lucifer, you can't touch me. Furthermore, take your filthy hands off me family. Plead blood of Jesus over your family. Plead the blood over your family. This is what to pray and say in the morning. The blood of Jesus over your family. Plead the blood over your family. This is what to pray and say in